You're probably always asking yourself, what's the most important city in Albania? Most people would probably say that it's the capital, Tirana, and today they would probably be right. Tirana is the hub of business, finance, politics, foreign relations, and it's Albania's most populous and most modern city. However, compared to some of the other cities in Albania, Tirana is just a baby. There has been habitation there, and even a small Byzantine castle, but it wasn't really even founded until the 17th century, and was mostly unimportant until 1912 when it was actually made the country's capital. 30 kilometers, or 18 miles from the capital, lies the port city of Durrës, Albania's second biggest city, but it is far older than Tirana. In fact, Durrës, formerly known as Dyrrachium, was one of the most important cities of the ancient world. Today, Durrës is often the first place visitors experience after landing in Albania, especially if their flight lands in the afternoon and one wants to get to the coast as soon as possible, but doesn't quite have time to get down to the Riviera. Downtown Durrës, at its core, is a really nice place to be. The streets offer a plethora of shops and restaurants. It's a good place to find fresh seafood and have a relaxing stroll. The core area of the city is very pleasant and certainly offers a traveler a solid day or two of walking, eating, and exploring the city's ancient sites. More on that later. I do not recommend straying from the core part of the city though, as it isn't really set up for visitation and there is a hard line between where you likely want to be and the rest of the town. This street, for example, is immediately adjacent to the main strip, so it doesn't take long to find yourself out of the gentrified tourist district of the town. I personally like to see the grit and back streets of a city away from the areas that are manicured for the tourists, but I know it's not for everyone. Unfortunately, the beaches right near the city center aren't the best. Certainly you can come down and have a nice time, as many people clearly do. We were only there for 2 days and we decided we didn't have to go swimming. If the beaches were a little more inviting, we would have, but there was like a scum line of dead algae along the shore that you have to wade through to get to the cleaner water, and we decided it just wasn't worth it for the short trip, and we had other things to do. My understanding is the beaches to the south of the port are far nicer, so next time we are there, maybe we'll take a taxi down there and spend some time at the beach. Despite not being the best place to go for a swim, the waterfront does offer a really nice promenade that includes some modern statues like this bronze of Bob Dylan, set against the stark backdrop of one of Albania's older monuments. In this case, we have a communist-era monument of the unknown soldier, honoring Albania's fallen heroes whom couldn't be identified. There are also statues of Illyrian warriors and some old Roman-era columns on display along the promenade. If you find yourself here in the late afternoon, head north along the seaside walkway. A platform stretching out into the sea has become the go-to place for those whom engage in sunset basking. It is a quite nice place to absorb the last rays of the warm sun as it slowly dips into the Adriatic Sea. While Durrës is a great modern Albanian city in its own right, it's the primary port of the country, what lies underneath the modern city is one of the most important places of the ancient world. Because Durrës, Albania used to be known as Dyrrachium in the Roman province Macedonia in the greater region of Illyria. Dyrrachium was indisputably the most important port in the Western Balkans and a vital hub for the entire Mediterranean. This city was the beginning of the vital land route Via Egnatia that led east through Illyria and Macedonia to Constantinople, where they could access Asia and Persia. It played a vital role in the transport of goods, the deployment of soldiers, and the dissemination of imperial policy. The city of Durrës has recently opened a newly renovated museum that displays the artifacts that have been recovered throughout the city. It traces the journey from a village of the Illyrians, whom called the settlement Epidamnus after their king, all the way to the medieval period under the Byzantines, and potentially beyond. Unfortunately, during our visit, only the first of 3 floors was open as the museum is still a work in progress. Therefore, we were only able to examine artifacts through the Roman period. After its founding, the city changed hands several times between competing Illyrian groups. Eventually, Greek colonists from Corcyra, modern Corfu, settled and mixed with the local Tullanti Illyrian population, creating a Greco-Illyrian community. so that's nice.
So these gravestones are Illyrian names written in Greek script.
The city became known as Dyrrachium after the harbor was completed. Over time, though, class stratification occurred, and the democratic forces and the oligarchs engaged in a civil war. The opposing sides secured help from Corcyra and its mother city, Corinth. So why does any of this matter? Because Athens was allied with Corcyra and couldn't afford to lose their fleet to the Corinthians. This might give Sparta and its allies, like Corinth, naval supremacy. So the Athenians intervened, attacking the Corinthian fleet, thereby violating the 30 years peace treaty it had with Sparta. Thus, this little civil war in Dyrrachium sparked the over 70 years Peloponnesian War, and is sometimes called the First World War, as the devastating conflict raged from Spain to Egypt, and concluded with the end of Athenian democracy and Spartan domination of the classical world. A truly world-changing event. In 229 BC, an Illyrian queen named Teuta began attacking the city and using the area as a base for piracy. This disrupted trade to Italy, so the Romans intervened and became the de facto protectors of the city. Later, after the Romans had to again engage their forces to defeat the Kingdom of Macedon, they annexed this whole region of the Balkans and created the province of Macedonia. However, they bestowed the title of Civitas Libera, or Free City, to Dyrrachium, which allowed it to govern itself with the exception of foreign policy and trade. It was during this time that the empire began to construct the Via Egnatia to create a land route to the eastern Balkans to facilitate trade through the peninsula and the movement of armies eastward. In the civil war between Julius Caesar's nephew Octavian against Mark Antony and Cleopatra, Antony occupied the city. However, Octavian's brilliant commander Marcus Agrippa sailed across the Adriatic and captured Dyrrachium, cutting off Antony and Cleopatra from vital supplies and leaving their forces hungry, weak, and subject to disease. Finally, in 30 BC, after the Battle of Actium that saw Octavian defeat Antony and Cleopatra and become Rome's first emperor, Caesar Augustus, the city was stripped of its free status and came under full and direct Roman control. As we walk around what is left of the ancient city today, we find these large walls. Underneath the brickwork we see here are the original Hellenistic and early Roman fortifications of the city. What is now obvious, however, are the fortifications constructed by the Emperor Anastasius in the late 5th century AD, which is the Byzantine period of the Roman Empire. They are constructed of deep red terracotta bricks and high-quality mortar that has stood the test of time, weather, and earthquakes. One can find bits and pieces of them around the city in unexpected places. But the north wall is largely intact and features several towers. These walls are extremely thick, and the Byzantine historian Anna Komnene noted that 4 horsemen could ride abreast along the top of them. Of course, the Venetians and Ottomans contributed to their maintenance, and some of their own additions. The most notable of which is this Venetian tower, upgraded from the previous Roman tower to allow for the addition of cannons and more modern weapons. One of the principal attractions of the city of Durrës are the remains of its once grand amphitheater. Dyrrachium was honored with the largest amphitheater ever constructed in the Balkans. The arena was built at the height of the city's wealth under Emperor Trajan in the 2nd century AD and could accommodate as many as 20,000 spectators. Due to the steep topography, one side of the stadium was carved directly into the hillside, while the other relied on a masterfully engineered and constructed series of vaulted brick and stone arches. For centuries, this structure hosted Roman spectacles like gladiatorial combat and animal hunts. If you find yourself in Durrës and need a reprieve from the intense Mediterranean sun, you may appreciate entrance into the site and explore its subterranean vaults, an internal superstructure where the air is damp and cool. It really is really refreshing on a hot day, as we found out. These vaults, tunnels, and chambers were used to hold animals, gladiators, and stage machinery before they would be sent into the arena to amuse the Roman spectators. Eventually, people lost their bloodthirstiness, and the games were banned by the Christian Emperor Honorius in the late 4th century. The vaults and galleries were then used as stalls for markets and animals. In the 8th century, a small unique chapel was constructed within one of these galleries, where you can still find a mosaic depicting Mary, Saint Stephen, Saint Irene, and the donors whom paid for it. Moving up the road, we find the remains of the baths and gymnasium that were discovered in 1960. Unfortunately, someone decided to construct this building on top of the site. You can't see it because of the midday exposure, but the ruins stretch deep underneath this modern building. Right by the ruins of the baths, we find the remains of the Forum and Central Market. The construction indicates that it dates from the early 6th century, during the reign of Emperor Anastasius, whom also built the massive walls. I forgot to mention earlier that this was his hometown, so that explains his extensive investment in the city. The site has a 40-meter circumference with a podium and a well at its center. This indicates that it was a place where an official known as a praeco would make announcements, read decrees, and public notices. Now, there's an ancient defensive tower hidden behind some neighborhoods at the top of the hill. It has a railing around it, so that makes me think that maybe I can get to the top of it and have a look out over the city. So join me while I go on a mini adventure and try to get to it. So I have walked up all sorts of alleys and streets trying to get this old section of wall where that tower is. Sometimes it can be a real maze and a lot of dead ends. Oh, this is not looking good. The road has turned to dirt. I'm not even really close to that tower yet. How do I get there? Alright, so this is part of the North Tower. There's another part down this road a little bit. Once again, I don't see any access to it. See, here is another piece. I don't think I can get access to that either. I don't know how do you get to these places. I'm going up all these streets and alleys and they all end up being dead ends. There's got to be a way to get up there. There's got to be. Oh, man. It's exhausting. And it is hot, too. It's about 30 degrees Celsius, which is, I think in the low 90s. That sun is intense. Well, it is not looking good. At least not for these towers here. I'm still hoping I can get to the other one, but at this point, not having much luck. Alright, so I got onto the top end, and we can see part of what's left of the tower here, but it is on private property. So that kind of precludes us from going in and investigating it any further. But still hope for the other tower. We'll see. So I've hiked up here. Here's some more of the wall. Well, let's see where this takes us. This is it. It's like an old bunker here as well. Yeah, we walk along this part of the wall here, and we have finally found it. That was not easy. Wow, that was really hard. Yeah, look down over here. Look at this. All right, this has been an adventure. I honestly didn't think I was going to make it. You can see these, this is a good example of how the old Roman brickwork was made. These big squares. And we make our way out. Here we go, finally. The tower I was trying to get to all this time. Boy, that was a lot of work getting to this. It is not easy to find, which is why I haven't seen anybody up here. I kept looking at it from down below, and I saw the rails thinking, oh, this would probably be accessible to people, which it is, but it's really hard to find. Oh, look at this. You can look down on the wall here.
And you can see the amphitheater over there. Wow. That was not easy. And here we are, the port of Durrës. That was a lot of work. I'm glad I did it though. It's cool. Little adventure.
So, is Durrës worth a visit? In my honest opinion, it's not my favorite Albanian city by any stretch, but it really depends on what you're looking for. The museum is really nice and it should be fully open soon if it isn't already. I filmed this 2 weeks before releasing this video. There's a really nice district in town, and my understanding is that the beaches on the south side of the port are really nice as well. But I can't recommend going to the ones near the main part of town. The ancient ruins are definitely worth seeing, but they're not in the best state of preservation, so I don't think it's going to be like Pompey or anything like that. I think I went to every ancient site in the city, so if you want to see them for yourself, this video should give you a good idea. If you're into history, it certainly isn't a bad place to spend the day before heading south to the Riviera. However, I think Apollonia or Butrint are more interesting sites if you're limited on time. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Please like, subscribe, and comment. There are also links in the description to buy me a coffee and subscribe to my Patreon. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Mira Povsham.